We are live, back with a Tuesday edition of your wildest fantasy football show. Cody thought about going no glasses, then he went quickly back to glasses.
Yeah, I could not see Kondo. He looked like Chewbacca, and it scared me. So glasses are back on.
It's just because my mustache is getting thicker. That's
right.
I've heard that my facial hair resembles Chewbacca, not necessarily my face in general. That would be a little mean, but the facial hair is as strong as ever, or a fictitious being, which makes sense for your wildest fantasy football show.
Exactly.
Kind of tying everything in together perfectly.
Perfect circle.
I have to ask you about something, Cody.
Okay.
Because I heard that you may have a very interesting television setup. I have not seen it, but I have heard things.
Oh, my television setup is, let me see if I can move it. It is on tires.
Do you have your pants tucked in?
Nope. They're untucked.
Okay, never mind.
Nope, we're good. Untucked.
So can we see that? Can you, it would help if we moved you down and then if you got out of the frame for a second. Okay.
There.
Let me take the banner off. That might help as well. I think, yeah, that will help.
There it is.
So
it's tires. There's tires.
Can you explain for the listeners what your TV is set up on?
So my TV is set up on 4 tires, and then there's the box the TV came in, and then there's the TV.
What are the red things? Is that sandbags on top?
That's a Browns blanket.
Okay.
We use it to protect the cardboard from anything. And also it doubles because we have a dog who likes to eat everything. If you put the blanket on top of the stuff that you leave on the TV, she can't get it. So it's like a 2-for-1, really smart thing, actually. The whole setup cost a lot less than actually going out and buying, like a $500 TV holder when you get one for free. All you gotta do is find some tires. So
I don't know. I feel like tires can be expensive. So
they can be, but if you just take them, then they're free. So 5-finger discount.
Oh, gotcha. Right. All right. I just wanted to establish that before we started the show today.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about, though.
We do.
Maybe not a lot, but we have things to talk about. Monday Night Football between the New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers went about exactly how we expected it to go. Tampa Bay blowing out the New York Giants. The Giants just offensively, if you look at that line, especially not holding up at all. Daniel Jones kind of couldn't step into a throw if he wanted to. And a lot of the times you saw him just kind of soft arm, like duds that were drop-offs that he couldn't even get there because he couldn't step into it. It was just a nasty showing from the Giants offense and kind of getting back on the right foot for the Tampa Bay offense. You see a lot of these guys step up a bit. Mike Evans getting a healthy dose of targets. Godwin scoring a touchdown, making some plays. Brady having a decent day. What stood out to you in this game?
This game, I was I was encouraged, worried, and then not worried whatsoever about Gronkowski. It was Rob's, he came back. He's here now again. And he got 8 targets, 6 completions, 71 yards, 13.1 fantasy points this week. If you watch the game, though, he got most of that in the first half, if not almost all of it. Watching the second half, so I was playing a guy who had Gronkowski. I was up, and if Gronk got 19 points, which Gronk can do, he would have beat me. So I was watching the game very closely on Gronk, especially. And the first half, I said, I lose the league, or I lose the week. And then second half, they just didn't give the ball to Gronk. And I think that was just it was encouraging for me. Discouraging if you were a Gronk owner and needing him to have a big week. But I think I liked how he was like, he got 8 targets on his first game back. I think that was like encouraging for everyone else. Fournette looked okay. He didn't look, borderline RB1 like his position rank suggests he would look, but he looked good. But yeah, Mike Evans definitely got the fair share of looks, even though he was responsible for like 2 picks. They still kept giving him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I was very encouraged by the Rob Gronkowski target share to get 8 targets, especially when they're involving the other tight ends as well. Was nice to see.
Right.
I think just from everybody, it was good showing. Like I said earlier, maybe the only person that you're kind of worried about is Godwin, depending on how this Antonio Brown situation unfolds and whether he is able to get back on the field sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could eat into Godwin, and Godwin's been one of the best performers from this offense, our most consistent performers from this offense. He's wide receiver 7 in fantasy right now, averaging 17.6 per game. Put up 19 last night. I think this would be a good time to sell him and try to get a guy that we both think is going to be a wide receiver 1 the rest of the way.
Right. Look to sell Godwin. I think that when Brown comes back, he does go down, like you say. I think Mike Evans is the wide receiver I want on this team just because of his red zone looks and his target share that he gets. Besides that, I'd look to utilize Godwin's like trading price right now and get someone in return that is going to help you when the team is fully healthy, a little bit more than Godwin will when Brown comes back, which should be soon.
Yeah, he started running this week. Expecting to get him back sooner than later, especially down the stretch. The last thing you want is your wide receiver 1 that you've been relying on. Maybe your wide receiver 1, but a guy you've been relying on for wide receiver 1 numbers in Godwin to all of a sudden fall off when Antonio Brown comes back when you need him the most. So I would look for a guy with a more secure target share, somebody who is the leader in their offense. Someone that I think we both like is Deontay Johnson as an option there. That's possible. You might need to throw in a little bit more because of the week that he had this week. But there's some guys out there that you could make an argument for. As for the Giants, we just got breaking news right now that they fired their offensive coordinator. We'll see where they go from here offensively. I don't think that's like huge news because it's not like they're going to bring someone in from the outside probably. On the Giants side, there's a couple guys to talk about. Saquon coming back from injury. He put up 11.6 in full point PPR, 6 rushes for 25 yards, and 6 catches for 31 yards. How did you feel about Saquon's return and how he looked?
He looked good, but you're on the Giants and you're playing Tampa Bay. So it wasn't like – it was kind of what I expected him to look like. But it was encouraging to see him look kind of explosive in the short amount of – or the small portion of targets and touches that he had.
Yeah, I would expect him to get more involved as he kind of progresses through his recovery.
Right.
I think we knew Devontae Booker was going to have a little bit of a role here. He had 4 touches. I'm not sure how the snap count looked, and I don't want my computer to just break again. We do have reinforcement on the way for our sudden internet problems.
So Booker got 21 offensive snaps. Saquon got 36.
So a 62% to 36% split. I expect that to kind of go as it did when he was coming back originally from the ACL. I expect that to increase slowly but surely, and Saquon to get a bigger role as he gets healthier. I want to talk about Cadarius Toning real quick because he had 12 targets in this game, 7 catches for 40 yards. Not the most productive game yardage-wise, but we've seen when he is on the field and when he is healthy, like he's a pretty big part of this offense. And I don't want to talk about him too much because there's a chance that he gets discussed later in this show. But I want to say there's some people who are going to be like the 5.7 yards per catch is concerning. I don't know that it really is as much because one, like he's on the Giants. There, you got to take what you can get from this offense. And two, I think it's more what we saw with the line not holding up at all. And I think if they're able to hold up just a little bit, which should be easier against non-Tampa Bay teams, they will be able to find him downfield and he will be able to make plays on his own. Like we know that he is very quick, speedy, and capable of making plays with his feet once he gets the ball in his hands. So I expect him to be discussed later in the show.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. Definitely polarizing. It's Cadarius Toning.
Big argument coming, I believe, from our waiver discussion, which, unless you have anything else from this game,
not about this game,
will begin right now.
Nice.
Week 12 waivers? Would this be?
Yes.
Interesting. I had week 10 waivers as my last one, so
we messed that up
last week. But that's in the past.
Yeah, we don't focus on
it says week 12 waivers, and that's very correct.
Exactly.
Week 12 waivers, it's not exactly how you would want it to look with the season on the line, kind of coming down to the last minute here or the last few weeks. You're hoping that you can get a guy who you can plug and play in your team and coast yourself out of that bottom spot. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen.
It could.
Because a lot of these guys are hovering around the 40%, 45% mark. And yeah, it's slim pickings out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a rough week. I'll just say it now. Not too many guys out there. But, I'm going to give you all my insider trading knowledge that I have.
And believe it or not, insider trading is considered illegal, but in fantasy football,
it's fine.
If it's not in like DFS. If it's in DFS, I think it might also be considered illegal.
I think it is.
But this is not DFS.
No.
Nor is it illegal.
Right.
Just to clarify.
Right.
All right. So on that note, getting all of our legal responsibilities out of the way, let's hear about your quarterback pickups for week 12.
All right. So these two guys should not come at a huge surprise to a lot of people. I really have 3 this week. I'm going to start off with 1 and 2, which I think everyone can pick up, and another guy who might be a little tougher. Number 1, Tyrod Taylor. Rostered in 5% of leagues, so out there in almost all of them. I think he's in for a good week. Cam Newton, again, only rostered in 40% of leagues, so a little bit tougher to get him, but Cam was the number 4 scoring quarterback last week against Washington. He's playing they are playing Miami, so not a defense that's super uber scary, and I think Cam's in for another good week. Third guy is playing Washington, the worst team in the league, on Monday night, primetime game. His name is Russell Wilson. Did not actually ever think that Russell Wilson. Oh, sorry. My bad. He's only starting in 40% leagues. I looked wrong when I did my research. I thought it was rostered in 40% of leagues.
How many was that?
He's rostered 90, starting in 40.
Oh,
so my bad.
okay.
I had the wrong stat when I was reading it earlier. I'm sorry.
We all make mistakes.
That's true.
It's a pretty tough one, but
Right.
I forgive you.
I gotta take that one on the chin. That's my bad, everyone. Oof. That could have been bad. That could have been bad.
So those are your guys for the week?
Yeah, Tyrod and Cam, both are. I like Cam as my number one pick, but Tyrod is also playing the Jets, so it's not like a scary team. But Cam's playing Miami, and I think Cam against Miami is a little bit more favorable because he has CMC and DJ Moore, whereas Tyrod Taylor really only has Brandon Cooks to help him out. And I think Cam's just poised to have a great day, but Tyrod's also going to have a good day. So both of these guys are going to help you more than they're going to hurt you this upcoming week.
Yeah, I believe that Cam is a really good pick for the rest of the season. Like, he's a decent bet for the rest of the season. I don't know if he's the one quarterback that you want to roster for the rest of the season, but
Right.
I think he is as interesting as a like speculative number 2 if you have a okay situation, or if you have Russell Wilson and you are terrified of what he's done over the last 2 weeks. Could be a good move to go out and get Cam Newton to add to your bench and maybe even your starting lineup this week until Russ shows that he can produce. I think there's a couple guys out there that I would be interested in as well. I do like Tyrod. He's playing the Jets this week, which helps, as we well know. Cam, likewise, playing Miami. I don't want to say it, but the Taylor Heineke train might be back up and running. It's not often that we hear a train noise, and it's very rarely for me. If we hear it, it's from Cody's side of the screen. But I might plug in a little choo-choo here for the Taylor Heineke train. He put up 23 last week. Still like those New Orleans and Kansas City back-to-back in week 5 and 6, whereas only single-digit games, including when he took over for Magic in week 1. I think he's pretty safe for guy. And like, if he's going to run the ball, which we've seen him do last week, he had 6 for 29. I think it gives him a little bit more of a floor as well. Like, this offense looks better. They're playing Seattle, who has not been great against the pass. I am intrigued with him this week. And some of the matchups coming up, like, hopefully you're not starting him in the playoffs. But I think that depending on how this week goes and depending on how this offense continues to look, Taylor Heineke might be an interesting person. I'm not sure if you want to pick up week in and week out or keep on your roster, but someone to keep an eye on if anything is to go awry with your quarterback situation.
So, yeah, for the playoffs, he plays Dallas and Philly twice each. Dallas, Philly. So I'm not sure how he's played every game. Granted, he took over for Fitzmagic week 1, but he's played every game but one. He's quarterback 15 on the year. I'm a little bit lower on Heineke. I think he has the potential to, have good weeks. Seattle scares me a little bit just because they are borderline top 10 in terms of fantasy points to the quarterback. They're 11th right now, so I am a little nervous for that. Seattle has looked decent against quarterbacks this year in general. Just watching the game, I'm not all in on Taylor Heineke. I kind of like Cam a little bit more. I like Cam more. Tyrod is kind of where I'm like, if you want Tyrod or Taylor, I kind of understand it. You can go either way. But I think Cam is the better option moving forward because of the weapons he has on his team. But again, Cam is also an inconsistent quarterback that we've seen from years past, and we don't know week in, week out the Cam you're going to get. So again, I'm with you. I'm just not all in on Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I mean, I would not suggest being all in on Taylor Heineke, nor am I. I do put him behind Cam, and I think I even put him behind Tyrod.
Yeah, I do too.
But in the right matchup, I think that he is someone to look at. And I'm not as worried about the Seattle matchup as you are. I think that they're going to have to score. Their defense has not been great, although it has been slightly better over the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to have to put up points if they are going to compete with Seattle. And the offense looking better, I think he's worth a shot if you are in a really tough quarterback situation.
Right.
And if you're like, is it Daniel Jones? Is it Trevor Lawrence? Is it even maybe like Tua? I think I would consider Heineke depending on the matchup. Moving to, I don't know if we want to do running backs or wide receivers first, because in the rankings here, if you guys have watched the show before, you know that I do priority. Toney does the positions. I have 2 wide receivers leading the priority, and then 1 running back sitting in my top 5. I guess we can go with the running back, and that's going to be Devonte Freeman as my 3rd priority waiver pickup. It's gross. I know. Trust me.
Very gross.
I don't want
Disgusting.
to be talking about Devonte Freeman right now.
We are. We are indeed.
We are. That's the unfortunate reality that we live in. And despite me being grossed out, Devonte Freeman hasn't been as bad as you would think that Devonte Freeman should be at this point in his career. I mean, since week 6, they've had 1 bye week. Right. He's had 11.3, 12.9, 16.3, 8.8, and 20. I don't think he's going to see the passing volume that got him to 20 this past week. As far as getting 6 catches again, we just know that Lamar isn't really throwing the ball to the running backs too much. That being said, he does have 3 catches in 3 games this year, particularly since week 5 when he has gotten a little bit more involved. And since he's like really got involved here in the last 3 weeks, like we've seen, or last 4 weeks, we've seen him get some passes his way. So it's not like he's going to exclusively run the ball, but I just know that there are going to be running back needy teams. And I think that moves him above some receivers that I think might be better options. And is kind of like, if you need to fill your running back like position for a week, we have some big bye weeks coming up with Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt for that instance, the Green Bay running backs. So there's going to be a lot of teams looking for a running back, and he's really the only guy out there that I feel confident will have a decent role and will be the lead back for their team.
So Devonte Freeman made my list, but he's one of these guys who I'm not going to pick up in any of my leagues because of the situation he's in. So to break down Freeman's last game, like since week 5 or what? Since week 6, when he like officially kind of took over as the guy back there. He has a touchdown in every game that he has double digits. He can run the ball. Some games way better than most. But he needs a touchdown to get you double digits. And even then, he got you a touchdown to get you 11.3, a touchdown to get you 12.9. He needs a touchdown to be viable in terms of 10 plus fantasy points, which is kind of what everyone kind of looks for a good week. And again, he has Lamar Jackson back there, who does not like to dish the ball to the running back. Like, he does not like to throw the ball to the he doesn't like to swing it out. He likes to just take it and jet off himself. I mean, that's fine. It is what it is, but that's not helpful to a running back who's not going to rush for 100+ yards in a game and get a touchdown on his own. He needs those passes and those catches to be viable. So you can get Devonte Freeman. He made my list, but he's a guy that I am not going to be adamantly looking for, nor am I going to be making trades for this guy with some of the bye weeks I do have coming up.
Yeah, like we said prior to this, we're not pounding the drum for of the guys who are out there right now.
Right.
We just know that it's a pretty desperate situation at running back week in and week out, especially people might have lost Michael Carter. And I think the name that is not on my list that a lot of people are going to be like, why wouldn't you take this guy over Devonte Freeman would be Ty Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's a name that I figured you might bring into the conversation, and he is on my short list. He's just not in my top 5.
Yeah, so Ty Johnson and Coleman both made my list above Freeman. I think Ty Johnson's going to get the majority of the looks, but at the same time, I can see it being a 50-50 split out the backfield, and both of them having between 8 to 12 fantasy points at the end of the week, which isn't like lovable, but it's not going to get you like a 3-point dud, which I think some other guys will. So both those guys made the list. Freeman made the list, and David Johnson also is going to get a little bit of love. A little bit of love. Not a lot of love, but like a little bit of deeper leagues. David Johnson is a guy to keep an eye on. I think he's playing the Jets, the worst team in the league in terms of fantasy points to the running back. So if there is going to be a time for David Johnson to have a good week, it's going to be this week. So he made the list too. But like Kondomi already said, this is week 12. Slim pickings out here. But those are the guys. Freeman is, I think, last on my list in terms of people I want. But he should be higher on other people's list just because of the double-digit weeks he has had with the touchdown. Without the touchdown, he's not going to get you the double-digit points.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the selling point for me when it comes to, well, number one, I'm not sure whether Ty Johnson, and we both said we're not really sure whether Ty Johnson gets the majority of the looks for the Jets. The snap count was split evenly between Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman, and just knowing the Jets, like, who do I think is more likely to score, the Jets or the Ravens? I'm going to put my money on the Ravens. Now, the Ravens have a lot more people that can score, and that argument could be used. But if you're saying the Ravens are going to score 3 times, where the Jets are probably going to score less than that, I would take a chance that one of those 3 times is Devonte Freeman. I would rather take that chance than take the chance on it being Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman, just because I don't know how their roles are going to play. They like Tevin Coleman when healthy for some reason, and he scares me. I don't think I would love investing in Tevin Coleman particularly, but Ty Johnson I would take a shot on if I can't get Devonte Freeman. David Johnson's an interesting one. Houston just cut Phillip Lindsay earlier today, so that could make more room for this Rex Burkhead, David Johnson powerhouse duo in the backfield that the Houston Texans have. Exactly. Now, David Johnson is only running for 3 yards a carry, but like you said, if there's any week that he should be able to maybe, hopefully, surpass that, or just get in the end zone, it would be against the Jets.
Exactly. I mean, who doesn't love the combination of sexy Rexy and David Johnson. Two of honestly the most like lovable people in the NFL currently. Like if you think about people who are controversial, Lamar, Tom Brady, those
What did
guys.
Lamar do?
Some people think he's a running back. Some people think he's a quarterback. So it's split back there. Tom Brady, Tom Brady, has the deflate gate, a couple other things. So people kind of iffy over there. But if you think about Sexy Rexy and David Johnson, just like, people that if you wear the jersey, no one's going to like yell at you, give you a couple stares. Those guys are just some of the best hardworking guys in the league. So hard to hate on them, especially going in New Jersey. Just give them some love this week. Put them on the roster. Start them.
I'm not going to say either put them on the roster or start them. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a situation where, unfortunately, that is the choice you have to make, I think there's worse choices. Not many worse, but there are worse. People forget David Johnson. He was a top overall pick a few years ago in fantasy football.
I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
On to wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should probably kick this off. Mm-hmm. My number one waiver pick, it's Elijah Moore. He was in this discussion a few weeks ago. I think
he was indeed
2 weeks ago. And since then, he has done nothing but continue to produce. He has kind of everything you want from a wide receiver at this point that you're picking up on waivers, and is probably the only person that I'm saying, yeah, you need to add this person this week.
Mm-hmm.
He's my number one guy by far, and he just has consistent target volume. Really, since after the bye, you see
mm-hmm.
it. He's had 6 targets at least in every game since then, and double digits in every game since then. But even including the first few weeks, I mean, he has 2 games under 6 targets. Didn't produce as much with them before the bye,
mm-hmm.
but started gaining a connection, just getting his footing a little bit more since. Has been kind of like a fantasy superstar the last 3 weeks. I mean, 27, 13, and 29 in his last 3. I think he's a guy that you add and consider starting right away in some pretty attractive matchups down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm with you. Elijah Moore was my number one overall guy. Yeah, like you said, he's just been on a tear as of these last few weeks, I guess. And definitely a guy I think is worthy of a starting caliber spot for most teams out there.
At number 2, I had Cadarius Toney. This is where the fight is going to begin, ladies and gentlemen. So if anybody's looking for timestamps of the all-out brawl,
when shit
Cadarius Toney is basically going to be that. I have Cadarius Toning as my number 2 waiver wire pickup for this week. I see the target volume. I see the ability. The offense scares me, certainly. But as you will see as I talk about more of these wide receivers, the offense is pretty scary in all of the situations. Not the best, but that's probably why they're on waivers in the first place.
Exactly.
And this was between Cadarius Toning and Sterling Shepard, as the title of the episode suggests. And I just, at the end of the day, wanted the guy that I know is going to play next week. We're getting to the point in the season where a lot of people either have, a lot of people have 3 weeks left in their regular season, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks left in their regular season. You need guys who are going to play right now, play this week. And 2 of the guys that are on this list, I'm not sure if they're going to do that. So I picked the guy that will play this week, and that is going to, unless there's an injury that we haven't seen yet, is expected to play this week. And that's the guy that I want. And he's it helps that he's a guy who gets targets in this offense and has beaten out like Kenny Galladay and Darius Slayton and guys who have been around longer for them.
I can't go with Cadarius Toning. All right, so you can pick up Cadarius Toning. I'm not saying you can't, because obviously you can. I rostered Duke Johnson last week, so anyone is rosterable in any league. Cadarius Toney is not a guy I think should be rostered, nor should he, be above some of these running backs this week. Cadarius Toney has more games with negative, or has the same amount of games with negative yardage as he does with 100 yards games this year. 1-1. -2 yards week 1, 189 yards week 5. So, literal boom or bust, quite literally. Both for your real fantasy, or for fantasy and for real football. He only has 2 games. Well,
I'll let you.
Okay, thank you. So he does have potential. He has 3 games this season above 10 fantasy points in full point PPR leagues. But he has, 5 games underneath it. One of these 10-point games for PPR, he had 40 yards. He just got 7 receptions, which bumped him over. So in half-point PPR, he's a lot less attractive with his targets and catches as of late. So he's a guy who needs an insane amount of volume. I mean, the games he has above 10 points, he has 9 targets, 13 targets, 12 targets. There's guys who are getting you 10 fantasy points on 5 targets, on 3 targets for some of the eliter, speedy options out there. And he is a guy who I think you can do without. Not a guy I think is a must snag and grab. I like the player. I just don't like the fantasy outlook on him right now.
Okay, so there's 2 points there that I want to counter. Number one, you brought up has as many games with negative points as 100-yard games. We're picking up a guy on waivers. We don't need 100-yard games. We need a guy who can get us through a week with a solid performance. And I think that Kadarius Toney is trending in that direction, because when he can stay healthy in a game, which, as I mentioned, is going to be a concern for all of the guys that I think are worth going out and getting at this point, he is getting volume. And you bring up those like 9 target games, 13 target games, 12 target games. Like, he is going to get volume in this offense on most games when he can make it through healthy. Even like a 5-day. I am encouraged by the opportunity there, and also the guy's talent, the guy's ability. We know coming out, like, he was a speedster. The comp was very unfairly, and player comps are pretty dumb in my opinion, but the comp was Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's Tyreek Hill. I don't think many people are. I don't think more than one person is Tyreek Hill. And I would even say that one person is Tyreek Hill. Is there a knock at the door?
Probably. There is only one Tyreek Hill. There, go away. It's fine.
Okay. I just think that the talent is there to break these big plays. And like, I get some of the concern over the yardage. He still has 11.2 average yards per catch. So being over that 10 threshold makes him a little bit more attractive to me. And just like seeing the involvement, and on the other side of like a Sterling Shepard would have been there if I knew he was going to be healthy. We've seen it from him consistently when healthy. He practiced last week and then was ruled out. That scares me a little bit. I'm not sure if there was any kind of like setback or anything. I'm not sure. how his status looks for this week. And then the other thing I wanted to just say quickly is you mentioned guys getting you more fantasy points with less targets. Like, yes, but I just don't know who's out there that's doing that. And healthy.
Right. I mean, healthy is a big part. But yeah, I mean, I just don't like the fact that there's no one in this. They're doing so. All right. Daniel Jones and this Giants offense is doing it right in the fact that for real football, they don't have a number one. Kadarius Toney has 48 targets, Sterling Shepard 43, Kenny Galladay 33, Darius Slayton 33, John Ross 16, Evan Ingram 41, Kyle Rudolph 24. Like, granted, they're not all healthy at the same time, but they're spacing the ball out when they are playing, and they're looking to different guys. Granted, Sterling Shepard has a 14 target game. Toney has a 13, a 12, and a 9. I'm pretty sure Galladay has an 11. Shepard has a 10. So, like, they do have games where they are getting an insane amount of volume, but they're spacing the ball out. Like, not having a receiver above 50 targets is kind of insane when Cooper Kupp had that after 2 weeks. So, it is what it is. A guy who I like more, who has had a rough stretch as of late, is Cortland Sutton. They're playing the Chargers. Cortland Sutton is only Oh, what the heck? I'm looking at the starting one again. I'm so sorry.
I was going to say Cortland Sutton is rostered in many leagues.
Did this twice. I looked at the wrong thing. I look at the start instead of the thing when I'm writing this up, and then my bad. But yeah, Cortland Sutton can't pick him up more than likely unless you're in a terrible league. But Cortland Sutton is a guy who I think makes do of less targets and than Cadarius Toney.
See, I would rather start Toney at this point. Sutton over the last, particularly 2 weeks, has been rough, and like since Judy's been in the fold, he's been kind of non-existent. Like I wouldn't want to start either of those guys in full disclosure, but I would actually feel better about Toney.
I think Cortland Sutton is in for a better day, especially with the fact that they're going to be playing the Chargers, and Judy's going to get the number one guy. So I think he has had a chance to be a little bit more free. That's all.
I suppose I would not. Yeah, we have a disagreement there, but we also have to talk about the rest of this list.
Exactly.
Wide receivers, which is pretty hefty. 4 for me is Sterling Shepard, because when he plays, he is very good at football. He gets a lot of targets consistently, and he's just as safe of a floor guy as you can find. Unless he gets hurt during the game. That's really about it, which seems to be about as consistent of a trend as him performing when healthy. And that's unfortunate because of the talent level that he shows. But it's just the truth of what the situation is. And we hope to see him back healthy. And just because of that hope, I would add him to my roster because we know what he can be. But I'm not holding out that he's going to be healthy this week in particular.
Right.
And maybe even in the long term. Like, it's especially as this Giants team keeps like losing games, they could look to just like shut him down as we get later into the season because of the health and everything that he's gone through this season with it. So I definitely, there's a reason that he's out there in a lot of leagues. It's not because of his performance when he's healthy.
I'm with you. Sterling Shepard. I like him more than Toney when healthy. Sterling's my guy. But again, it's all about being healthy because, this is fantasy football. This is not a dynasty league, more than likely. So I'm with you. Sterling Shepard was on my list. Liked him, but again, it's all about health for Sterling Shepard.
Mm-hmm. And then 5 is someone else who is dealing with some injury concerns, but when they're on the field, they're seeing not necessarily the production that Sterling Shepard is, but they're seeing the volume in the offense that makes them a safe option. And they're seeing pretty good production in general as well. And that's Devonte Parker. He's eligible to come off of IR this week. If you have the ability to sit down a guy for a week, I think this could be the guy. There's even a chance of whether he plays this week. They said they're unsure whether he will be designated to return. So the risk is certainly there, but the reward is too. In the 5 weeks that he's played so far this year, he had 12, 9, 8, 17, and 16. He had 7+ targets in every single game as well. And he only had 1 touchdown in that span. So I like Devonte Parker as an ad. He might be higher on this list if you can afford to wait. I think if you can afford to wait, I put him here because of the unlikelihood that it sounds like he's going to play this week. But if you can afford to wait, I think him and Shepard are right up there behind Elijah Moore.
Him, Shepard, they're above Toney, but again, they're health risk guys. They have to be healthy to help your team. So, it all depends on what your team needs and what your roster makeup looks like at this point.
Yeah, and we try to guesstimate that as much as we can, but obviously, as we just explained, it's really the circumstance when it comes to these guys beyond Elijah Moore, because the talent isn't really too different that you're losing out if you take what you need roster-wise rather than who is ranked the highest.
Exactly.
Do you have any other wide receiver pickups for this week?
Jamison Crowder was the only other guy we didn't cover, who I thought would be an interesting ad. Again, he is probably going to be healthy, so potentially over Shepard and Parker. But again, the talent-wise, they're all about the same. So he's just an interesting guy to look at and consider, and just look at the makeup of your team, and then figure out what your team needs before you add one of these guys.
Agreed. Couple guys on my end as well that did not make the top 5, and that would be starting with Donovan Peoples-Jones. I've been a Donovan Peoples-Jones believer. He was hurt this past week.
Yep.
The hope is that he's going to play this week. I still think that he is the wide receiver to own in this offense. I don't think you're starting him right away, but he is someone to hold on to. He saw 5 targets in the game where he was ineffective, and he only had 1 catch in that last game that he played 2 weeks ago. But seeing 5 targets for him was kind of encouraging for me as someone who has liked him this year and likes his chances to emerge down the stretch. He's someone that I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 10 targets. That's hard to just not think about at all.
Right.
I don't know that puts him higher than many people, but he's probably, of the wide receivers that I've talked about so far, he's probably the last one I'm going to add. And he's probably even behind this last person that I'm going to bring up, which is Cedric Wilson. We don't know whether – we already know Amari Cooper's out. We don't know whether CeeDee Lamb is going to play or not. Cedric Wilson is going to have a role in that offense if CeeDee Lamb is out.
Right.
And he could be a good play if you're looking for someone for this week.
Yeah, those are some interesting guys. DPJ is not a guy that I'm loving just because, like I said earlier, I think I said yesterday and or last week, heavily considering dropping anyone who is not a Browns running back, i.e. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Deontay Johnson until Kareem Hunt comes back, and might hold on to him just as a handcuff in case one of those guys do go down again. DPJ has 23 targets on the year, played 7 games, 16 receptions, 330 yards. Average reception is 20 yards a catch. Doable, absolutely. Doable from Baker, less likely, just because of how Baker has been performing this year. Don't love him. But again, all depends on your guy. He is a boom bust guy. He does not need he's not a slot receiver who's going to need 10 targets to get you a lot of points. This guy is a guy who will just race and catch 3 balls for 60 yards and get you a good week right there. So I don't hate your list. I just don't like there's just reasons I didn't put them on mine.
Yeah, I get the concerns for him. Obviously, Odell leaving, we expected to, or I expected to play a big role in his boost in just target share at least. I'm still kind of banking on that. I think this is more of a speculative one than someone we're going off of necessarily the production. But like you said, a guy who's a deep threat, doesn't need all that target share, and should be seeing an increase in target share is what is attractive to me as a not someone you're going to pick up and plug right into your lineup, but someone you're going to pick up, sit on for a few weeks, see, and that I wouldn't suggest actually, never mind. Put on your bench for a couple weeks just to avoid any just misunderstandings there and see how he does.
Yeah.
Who are we going with at tight end, Tody?
You know, the usual suspects. No one's listened to me yet, but I'm still going to bang the drum. Tyler Conklin, Dan the Man, Logan Thomas.
Yeah, we probably don't need to talk about it too much. I think the one person that we could talk about, Logan Thomas is expected to come back this week,
right?
Barring any setbacks. Now, we have heard this about him and Chris Samuel for what feels like forever. Hopefully, they're telling the truth. We'll see.
Right.
And I think Dan Arnold's an interesting one because I'm with you, but a lot of people are going to say he did not catch any balls last week.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. There's been a lot of guys this year who have put up just a complete dud. And, I think at tight end position, I think it's more forgivable if a guy puts up a dud just because we've seen George Kittle, Darren Waller, Hawkinson all put up terrible weeks and or multiple weeks so far this year. And yet those guys are still named untouchable. So I'm not going to dismiss Dan the Man Arnold just because of a down week. Fine with him, fine with Conklin, fine with Thomas if Thomas does come back. All these guys have upside, and all these, Conklin especially, just big Viking guy anyway. But, he led the league in points at the tight end position already this year, so he can do it again. And Logan Thomas put up two 12-point games and a 9.5 before he was injured. So those are all respectable weeks from the tight end position. And Dan the Man is obviously capable of getting a big target share with a young rookie quarterback who's going to look to dish the ball off short. So all these guys are fine. Don't matter that they had a down week. They're going to come back and perform.
Yeah, there's actually a league in which me and Cody play in. If you guys didn't know that me and Cody play in a league together, in which I'm trying to trade for Dan Arnold off of this bad week. So I'm definitely not out on him. He didn't see a real decrease in snap share. He just didn't see that as many snaps because their offense wasn't on the field as much as they probably should have been. I don't think you should give up on him yet, especially not as far as dropping him. If you want to sit him and just say, okay, are you going to get a target again? please, then you asked nicely. He has a good chance to. Just make sure to add please, or else I don't want you to just be like making him or requesting that he get you a target disrespectfully.
Right. Have some couth when you ask. Definitely goes a long way. Not just for fantasy, but for everything, real life.
Agreed. And last but not least, your
defenses and kickers, baby. So, as I think I talked about yesterday, I think the Lions are getting a bad rap. Lions are terrible, is what it is. But their head coach is trying his heart out there. He's doing the most he can do, and honestly, better than a lot of other coaches could do with the same level of talent that is composed in that roster. So this week, Lions are playing the Bears, and everyone knows that in the Wizard of Oz, Lions, Tigers, Bears. So Bears are technically third behind the Tigers. Lions are number one. So following that logic, Lions are going to be number one again and triumph over this quarterback-less, Bears team. So Lions.
Because I just want to back you up there because I agree with you 100%. The quarterbackless Bears, Andy Dalton is worse than Justin Fields. I'm glad we established that.
No, Justin Fields is quarterback-less. Anyway, Lions playing the Bears. I think it's a good week for Lions defense because their defense has been pretty good this year. If you watch the games, they're holding some offenses that can explode to lower amount of points than like their season average. They held the Vikings pretty low. They held, I think, Seattle. They held the Browns low. They're holding some good teams low. Obviously, they get blown out too, is what it is. No one's perfect, except for Kondo. But Lions, definitely a interesting team to have this week. And also the Jaguars. They're playing Atlanta. Cordell Patterson is iffy to play. I hope he does play. I think he is going to play from what I'm looking at. But the Jags they're playing Atlanta. They're really only having one option out there, and that being Cordell Patterson. Kyle Pitts, if he can get a reemergence, obviously he's going to have some productivity. But Jags could potentially have a good defensive week. So Jags and Lions, just giving some love to these lesser quality teams out here. And then for kickers, I'm going to have to go with my man, Brandon McManus. Denver is playing the Chargers. I think the Chargers defense is going to keep them out of the end zone a little bit and might have a bend but don't break sort of couple of drives in which some chip shot field goals are going to be necessary, which could lead to some good points from him. And again, obviously, Mason Crosby. I'm just going to beat the drum for him because I think I'm just going to double down on that game and start both kickers.
Yeah, I think you might start all the kickers you can. Yeah, he's just a big special teams guy. Special teams is a third of the game. When they say win in all phases,
special teams wins championships. A lot of people say defense wins championships, but obviously, if they were good enough, the defense would never have to be out there. It would be special teams the entire time. So special teams wins championships. Is what it is.
I do want to say a defense that got dropped in a lot of leagues this week. In good reason, they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 20% of leagues they got dropped in, they're down to 53.4% rostered is the Colts. Now, might not want to pick up the Colts for this week, but I am a big believer in picking up two defenses and rostering two defenses when you can and when it's opportune. And it might be good to maybe not even waste a waiver claim, but just throughout the week or after waivers clear, get up bright and early and add this Colts defense to your bench because next week they play Houston in a very good matchup for them. And this defense is looking very good at least in turning the ball over. As I mentioned before, they forced a fumble in every game besides one so far this year. The pass rush is a little better. They just kind of have a knack for turning people over. And I think that matchup and that move could win you or put you in a better position to win next week. And maybe not even the Colts. Maybe you're looking at some other teams that have attractive matchups, not necessarily this week, but next week that you can add to the back of your bench and put you in a better position to win next week if you have the roster space.
Yeah, Colts are interesting, especially if you're going deeper into the season with this defense. If you are a person who likes to just roster two defenses and then rock between those guys, Colts is an interesting one for later. I like to go with defenses who are going to be playing lower caliber offenses because points plays a big part of it. As we saw just to look at the Colts real quick, just because I saw it. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had it pulled up and then I lost it because I said, I'm not going to talk about it. No, I'm going to talk about it because I'm here. Yeah, that's what I do.
What do you want me to find?
I have it. So Colts held a team, or Colts got an interception, a fumble recovery, and 2 sacks. Sounds like a good week. They got you 0 points, and that's against the Jets because they let up 30 points. So
okay, let's be civil here. Let's be civil here and not pick the one game, one of 2 games they've one of 3 games that they have less than 6 points.
Right, I'm saying
the number 6 overall defense, buddy.
Honey, you're not letting me talk here, sweetheart, at all. I'm saying points play a big part. You have a fumble recovery and interception, and you're sacking the quarterback, is what I'm saying. And you still get 0 points because if the team puts up points on you, it takes away from all the other stuff you're doing. And I mean, Houston, they got 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, 2 sacks, and they only have 3 points. And they got you 11 fantasy points on the week. So the points an offense puts up against you counts against you. That's why I like to pick defenses who are going up against lower caliber offenses. Yes,
they're going up against Houston. I feel comfortable
right now they're going up
Houston
against
is
Tampa
a lower
Bay.
caliber.
Yeah, they're going up against Tampa Bay. That's why I said for this week I don't like it.
Yeah, I
said if you're going to hold on to it, I said I like it. I just said not for this week.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Woo! The Jets put up over 450 yards on the Colts.
Yeah,
that's unreal.
I mean,
that is actually
that doesn't take away from my argument. I don't think much.
No, I'm not. No, for this week, don't have the Colts, but next week when they're playing Houston again, pick them up.
I say this week, my thing that I'm trying to say, and maybe I didn't make it clear enough, is that pick them up now if you have an extra roster spot, because you're not going to be able to get them if you're in the back end of waivers next week, where now you don't even have to waste a waiver claim on them because nobody's going to pick them up this week because they're playing Tampa Bay. So you have a chance to get them at a discounted rate this week, hold on to them, and then not have to waste a waiver claim on them next week because they're going to be one of the first teams off waivers next week. One of the teams that if they dip below 50% rostered, they're going to be talked about on this show because they're playing the Houston Texans.
Right, but
I'm not saying to use them this week. I'm saying stash them.
But Colts are rostered in 53% of leagues right now. So it's going to be hard for people to even go out and do what you're saying, which is to pick them up for next week.
Cody.
Right. You said
they got dropped in 20% of leagues.
Right. You said pick them up
so
this week.
That's why I would look at it if they're available.
Right. You said pick them up this week. and play them next week. I'm getting that. I'm on the same wavelength. All I'm saying is over half the leagues you can't do that in, despite the fact they were dropped in 20% of leagues, you still can't do it in over half.
I did start with that. Yes.
Right. I'm just saying it's going to still be hard. Just like the Rams were dropped in 20% of leagues, and they're still rostered in 73% of leagues. And I like Rams defense. Steelers dropped in 25% of leagues, still rostered in 67. I think that these defenses all have potential. Not really the Broncos. Keep dropping the Broncos, let that thing slide. But it's still going to be hard to pick them up, though, because it's over half the leagues. And again, some people are going to be like you and be like, I'm going to play for the future. Well, look ahead. Look at these matchups coming up. And they're going to pick them up anyway, despite the fact that they're going to waste a waiver pickup on it if you have a good team. If you have a Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I specified the 50% thing. I said if they're available, just because I knew they were close to the line, I would pick them up. Would still say that if you are in a position where maybe you have Marvin Jones and you're like, I don't need anybody for this week, but I'm going to need a different defense next week because whoever I have, let's say in this instance, out of no bias to my situation, you have the Carolina Panthers, and the Carolina Panthers next week have a bye week, and you're like, oh, I need a defense for next week. Colts defense could be that defense if they're out there in your league, if your league is one of the 47% they're available in. That doesn't apply to everybody, but I think the situation can apply to many, which would be look ahead if you're just going to have a roster spot where you're not really sure what you're going to do with it. Waivers we talked about this week is pretty slim. If you don't know what you're going to do with that roster spot and you need a defense for next week, I would consider stashing one that doesn't have an attractive matchup this week, but has a nice, juicy matchup for next week to get ahead of the curve and not have to waste a waiver pickup on what might be a top defensive matchup for week 13.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Another strategy is to go no defense whatsoever, because you could have been a fool and started the Bills last week, and the Bills got you -4 fantasy points. That's number 2.
Well, starting defense against the Colts is just always a terrible idea.
I don't think that's like a real thing though. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? I mean,
100%.
Oh,
we don't need to look up stats or anything.
Who have they played this year, Kondo? Can you just give me a quick?
They played all the good teams.
I'd love to hear.
They played all of them.
They played the Cowboys?
Yeah, sure.
Did they?
Are the Cowboys a good team? I think that could be a question that we talk about.
Their defense is number 4. That's why I was asking. That's a good defense to have. That's why I said they're a good team.
Well, obviously they haven't played the Colts then because their defense has been good. Their defense would be really bad if they played the Colts. Honorable mentions for this week. Is there anyone that we did not cover? I have a couple names, but really just handcuffs at this point in time.
I think I mentioned everyone just when I went through positions. So this is all you, Sugar Cube.
I have Chuba Hubbard on this list, Alexander Madison, Samaje Perine, Rashad Penny, although he just got hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have Tevin Coleman on my short list here. Not necessarily guys that I would feel I need to pick up. Although Alexander Madison and Chuba Hubbard, if I have Christian McCaffrey, or if I'm trying to do a trade with someone who has Christian McCaffrey, or I'm trying to trade for Christian McCaffrey, or any of those situations, I do think that Chuba Hubbard is somebody that I would want. Same thing with Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook. or Samaje
Right.
Perine and Joe Mixon.
That was a quick list. I was really expecting like just a crazy 38-page like essay sort of.
We kept it concise today.
You did.
Tried. We're right around the hour 10 mark.
Right. So. We are actually flying. So Kondo, I have some bad news with your theory that every team that plays the Colts puts up negative points.
There's no such thing as bad. First off, it's not theory. It's fair. But
just looking really quickly, like I like to do. Seattle, is their defense super scary?
Week 1, we already talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
We did a very strong strategy, I would say, at this point, because we're back to 500, where we looked bad on purpose so that teams would underestimate us. So then when we go to Buffalo, they're like, oh, that's that crap team that got beat by Seattle and made their defense look good. And we go and kick Buffalo straight in the mouth and dominate. So I don't think that game should even be able to count.
Okay, so fair. Week 1, we'll throw that one out. 6 points. Seattle got the defense got you that week. Week 2, Rams, their defense uber scary.
I mean, week 2, we kind of gave that game away. Likewise, I think there's some teams after week 1 that were saying, oh, week 1, it could be a fluke, Russell Wilson, all that stuff. Week 2, we get to see who this team really is. And we said, you know what? Let's just double down that we're a bad team so that people aren't like still have their guard up. You know what I'm saying? So I would also discount that game as well.
Okay. Tennessee, week 3.
I think that's what we talked about a couple times on the show. It's a divisional game. Now, divisional games can just like go any which way. And sometimes teams that are very good can look very bad. We saw that. I mean, we've seen that with the Los Angeles Rams when they played the Arizona Cardinals, got blown out. We saw that a few times this year, I believe. So Tampa Bay against New Orleans. So like, yeah, I think that game's not necessarily one that we can put much.
Okay, so Tennessee got 5 points that game. Miami, week 4. So you already proved to yourself that you can't win against good teams. Defenses are good against you. Miami got 4 points against you. Miami's
that's not even that good.
Miami better than -4 from the number 1 ranked defense in the league.
I mean, but like, are we saying start a team that's going to get 4 points?
I think defense is the one position that can actively get you negative points.
If you're happy with 4 points,
I don't think anyone's happy with
the Colts will, on some occasions, allow a defense to have 4 points against them when they're dominant in a how many
Tennessee,
points? 27-point win.
Tennessee
divisional game. Out the window.
Well, no, I mean, divisional game counts for 1, which was week 3, but then.
But it's the same thing. Like, what? How is it any different?
I think your argument is just astronomically wrong, but it is what it is.
You're entitled to your opinion, as I am entitled to mine. That's the great thing about the world that we live in.
Not so much the world, honey. Just the great old US of A.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know much beyond that. I'm not.
I know. Don't worry. I've traveled the world for you, Kondo.
Okay.
I've lived my life as like a representation of how I think you want to live yours. Been all over, and ate different sorts of fruits, climbed different trees, dug different holes.
At this point, I feel like we just want to be on for the longest possible time.
I enjoy it. I think an hour is just too short. I think an hour 15 is a great mark. Hour 20 is perfect.
All right. Well, are you still going on with the games, or are we moving into?
No, I just wanted to give the audience some insight into the Indianapolis trajectory here.
Yeah, we're probably going to win out. Thoughts on David Johnson? Toney had some very positive thoughts on David Johnson.
Yeah, good week. It's a good week for him to go off. Not sure about season long yet, but they're playing the Jets, so sorry, second take extra. But Jets aren't exactly uber scary. Jets can win, and David Johnson can still drop 3 touchdowns and 150 yards. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I don't know about that now. I was gonna say, in honesty here, like realistically, what would be going off for David Johnson? What is
I think David Johnson going off would be 3 receptions, 20 yards, 15 carries, 15 to 20 carries, 60 yards, and getting a touchdown in one of those touches. I think that would get you like 10, 11 points, possibly. I think maybe
that's a 17-point week in full point PPR.
Oh, well,
if he is to score a touchdown, 11 if not.
Right. That's kind of what I have. I think that'd be going off for David Johnson, and I think the Jets are a team that you can do that against.
I agree. I mean, I'm fine with that. So I don't have an argument for that. I do have a strong argument against this.
Second take extra, you are 100% correct. 100%.
I can't even say it out loud.
Lamar. So second take extra said Lamar, a running back, not QB.
I mean, I do agree. Lamar Miller was a great running back. I don't know where he's at right now.
He's talking about Lamar Jackson.
Sorry. It's really a problem. He would in his prime. Lamar Miller was as good as anybody. Like with those Dolphins teams, I think he was an elite running back, and he definitely sometimes would play the Wildcat. And I think people would say, "Oh, is he a quarterback?" But no, he's like in the Wildcat or primarily at the running back position. So Lamar Miller was definitely a running back.
Second take extra. You and the audience know what we're talking about. Condo is delusional.
Freeman can get 7 to 11.
I mean,
or Freeman can get 7-11. Maybe he's a door dasher.
Right. I mean, if Lamar doesn't play, I'm seeing 7. If he does play, I don't see another 20-point week for Freeman. I just don't.
I do in full point.
In full point, I don't see a 20-point game.
I could see a higher end with the receptions.
I can see double digits if Lamar doesn't play. If Lamar does play, I'm seeing underneath double digits just because we haven't seen Lamar have another running back there with him and then pose consecutive, viable, double-digit, fantasy productivity.
I mean, Freeman was doing that, though, wasn't he? Or did he not did he have that 8-pointer, right?
I think he had the 8-pointer. I think it was 12 for the touchdown, 8, 12 again, and then Lamar was out to get the 20.
Yeah, I'm fine with Lamar. Or I'm fine with him with Lamar out there. I think it's going to be kind of like what you said. I think it's going to be more 7 to 12 range, unless 7-11 is just more your speed. Who loves a big gulp? A lot of people.
Everyone.
That is it for our questions for the day. And I think that is it for our show for the day. Now, we do have an announcement to make.
Condo is pregnant.
We have 2 announcements to make. It is obviously Thanksgiving week. And
gobble, gobble.
There's a lot of games going on. There's a lot of life going on.
Amen.
As you know, on Thanksgiving, some people do stuff where they don't talk on the internet. Right. And I think we were planning on doing that. Mm-hmm. So we're planning on doing a mega episode tomorrow. We normally take Wednesdays off. Right. We are going to be here to do a mega episode tomorrow at what time, Cody?
Either 1 to 2. I will be traveling tomorrow to go see family for Thanksgiving, so I will not be in this luxurious state-of-the-art facility that I'm in now. So it'll be between 1 and 2. Just put the notifications on. Get notified when we're live.
Yeah, and we were planning on 2 o'clock. Mm-hmm. It will run until we get every game done for the week. So it's going to be a monster. Could we eclipse 4 hours? It's possible. I hope not.
I hope so. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it's a 4-hour show.
But I'm not ruling it out. So hang out with us tomorrow, an hour later than we are normally on. I'm going to say 2:00 right now. That's the number that I'm going to throw out there, where we are going to start, cover all the games for this week. We will be off Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Give everybody a little bit of time for rest and relaxation. Like Cody said, I'm pregnant. I probably deserve that.
You definitely deserve it, honey.
So that is it for us today. Join us tomorrow for
Go Bears.
Our Clint Eastwood-esque. Does Clint Eastwood make long movies? Who makes long movies?
No, that's not. Clint Eastwood makes like hour and a half.
I don't think these are.
I think it's it's the guy who makes
Scorsese?
No, the guy
Tarantino film?
Yes, Quentin Tarantino.
For our Tarantino film of an episode.
Right.
Holiday, Thanksgiving episode. Maybe even say what we're grateful for. Maybe even say some favorite Thanksgiving traditions or foods or
I do like
anything. Make it as long as possible, I think is the goal. We might even go from 2:00 tomorrow until Thanksgiving.
If you guys are lucky. If you guys are lucky, we will make it happen.
Who knows? But you'll have to tune in to find out. We will be here 2 p.m. tomorrow. We will see you then.